Well, a bombshell new report claims that the United States cannot actually prove that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad directly ordered last month's chemical weapons attack on his own people. And Jim Walsh is with the Security Studies program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he joins me now. Jim, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Martha.
So what do you make of this report?
Well, at one level, it makes sense. I mean, you're not going to have, quote, absolute proof until Assad is toppled. Then you might be or eyewitness testimony where he gives the order. But you don't need that for policy making. As head of his military, he is responsible. The government is responsible. He's head of the government. So when bad things happen, he's the one that has to answer for it. And I might add, Martha, these aren't just chemical weapons aren't just any sort of weapon. When you look at the history of folks who have chemical weapons, these are among the most tightly controlled weapons a country will have. Normally, those folks report directly to the president outside of the normal chain of command. Now, maybe there's something wrong with that chain of command, but Assad is responsible one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, that argument makes a lot of sense, I think, to most folks who hear that. We saw Assad in the interview that he did with Charlie Rose. He said, I had nothing to do with this. This is coming from the rebels. How much stock do you put in that theory?
Yeah, I put zero stock in that. I think that we have strong circumstantial evidence that suggests that the military did this, the Syrian government's military. And why do I say that? This just wasn't a couple of rockets that were fired off randomly. This was part of a set-piece attack that took a course over several hours, in which first there was chemical, then there was conventional munitions, then an offensive. In other words, this was a planned, orchestrated attack like you would see a regular military engage in. The rebels may have chemical weapons for all we know, but they don't have the launchers and they don't have the ability to use this much in this way. So I think there's very strong evidence pointing to the government. And I would say finally, again, there may be a problem in the chain of command here. Assad may not be as powerful as some of his local military generals, which raises a whole set of other issues. It doesn't change the issue of responsibility, but it does pose new policy problems if he's not calling the shots.
I mean, it's possible that someone's giving him plausible deniability on this as well. And as you point out, there have been several previous attacks. One of the things I find the most intriguing in this whole development with Russia is, how do you say we're not using chemical weapons and then say, yes, we've entered an agreement to put them under international control? There seems to be a little bit of an irony there.
I agree, and I think we'll see how this all plays out, but certainly one of the positive things about threatening the use of force against the regime is that they have now come out and admitted it, So there's no more any question about this, and it also, I think, means that you have to take the other things they've said, the other denials they've made, with a grain of salt, because clearly they lied about this.
Yeah, I mean, so we're supposed to believe that they have them, but they didn't use them in the horrific video that we saw. Someone else used them. They say the rebels used them just to get international attention and backing for the opposition against Assad. It's a pretty deep hole that has been dug here. What is your take on how likely it is and what the time frame might be for the international control system to get a hold of these chemical weapons and make it so that nobody can be hurt by them anymore?
That is exactly the question to be asking, Martha. That is the key question. And at one level, sort of the international community grabbing this stuff is a way better alternative than military strikes, because military strikes weren't going to go after the chemical agent itself. It was going to leave Assad with these and simply try to deter him. It would be far better to remove them. But, and you've put your finger on it, this is an enormous task. You have to find them. You have to secure them. Then you have to destroy them. We're talking years, not weeks or months, and it's in the middle of a civil war. So it's a better alternative, but there are huge challenges, and we're going to have to see. The devil will be in the details on this one.
But I mean, Putin has also agreed that he says Assad isn't the one who used them; it was the rebels who used them. So I mean, how realistic is it, and how much credibility do you give Putin and his government for really taking the actions necessary to bring these weapons under control?
I give Russia no credit at all. I mean, this proposal is an interesting one. If it works, it would be a better outcome. There are real questions about whether it will work. I'll give them credit for that. But, this op-ed today and the other stuff, I think There's a lot of gamesmanship going on here on the part of Russia. So if this is going to work, it can't be that it's the Russians that are guaranteeing the process. That's a non-starter. It has to be the international community, most likely the OPCW, which handles chemical weapons for the international community.
Well, John Kerry will meet with Lavrov and try to discuss some kind of framework for bringing these chemicals under control. And you've just pointed out, Jim, the reasons why they've got a really tall task ahead of them. Always good to see you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.